Okay, I have my hook and loop stuff, my Velcro, and all I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to very carefully trim off the sharp corners. This stuff can be really sharp if you don't trim it off, so I tend to do both bits together. You can do them individually if it suits you. So I've trimmed off the corners to make nice sort of slightly rounded edges on both the pieces. And then I'm going to take them apart because I only need one piece. Now it doesn't matter which bit you use for this next bit. You can use the hook or the loop. Take your accent panel. So that's the piece that's going to be on the inside of your tablet stand. And you're going to draw a line that is 5 inches from one of the short ends. So the 9-inch width, you're going to draw a line that's 5 inches across, and then you're going to take your piece of hook and loop or Velcro and you're going to place it above that line, so further away from the very edge. And you're going to centralise it. Now I just eyeball that. If you want to pop a couple of longer clips in to hold it in place, then you can do. I generally don't. If you want to put a bit of double-sided sticky tape down the centre, then you can. However, I would advise not using the sticky Velcro. You can get stick on Velcro, so it's got a peel off back, because when you try and stitch through it, you'll gum your needle up. It's almost impossible to use. So sewing Velcro is the way forwards. So position your Velcro above that line, and then we're going to stitch all the way around the outside to secure it in place. And I'll be back with you a second when I get to the machine and show you how I'm doing that. Okay, so we're now at the machine and I'm just going to stitch around the outside. Now most hook and loop, even the stuff that isn't Velcro, has a sort of a smooth edge around the outside, and it's always easier to stitch on that smooth edge. Now I'm using the hook part on this part. You can use either, it doesn't really make any difference at all. But you'll notice more when you use the hook part that if you try and stitch through the actual hook part itself, your thread is likely to shear because it just catches on the hooks. So do try and stick to the outside pieces. So these little tiny, they're only perhaps a millimetre or so around the outside, but they do help to help you to stitch. So let's just, I'm just gonna, oh, where's my foot pedals gone? Just do a couple of back stitches to secure my stitching, and I'm going slowly and carefully. This isn't going to be visible particularly, but even so you still want it to be fairly tidy. All the way around the outside. Now I've never had much success sewing Velcro or its cheap counterpart, which is what this is, with tiny needles. So I've got a size 14 in here. When I've used a size 12, it always seems to shear, and I don't know why. I think it just needs something with a slightly bigger hole to do it easily, but that's a personal preference thing. Try and go carefully around these corners or these curves that you've just created by cutting the corners off. And you're stitching this onto the right side of your fabric. Because my accent fabric is much the same on both sides, it's difficult to tell which side of the fabric I'm actually stitching it on, but I'm stitching this onto the right side of the fabric. My foot pedals just caught on the underside of my table, because it doesn't usually do that. I usually have much more control. Went berserk as these things do sometimes. And back to where you started. And a couple of back stitches just to finish off. So there we go. We have our first piece of hook and loop attached to our accent fabric just above the 5-inch line that I drew earlier on. That's the next bit. Oh, how do I stop it?